Hey, everybody. It's Jason
And Amanda.
with Foster, an Unparalleled Journey. And we are here tonight to do another quick YouTube Live talking about just some things that we didn't know about when we got into care and trying to spread some information and help a few people out, maybe. And Amanda came to me the other day and she had some information that I had never heard before. What she was talking about was the Family Medical Leave Act. And we were sitting here discussing it and looking it up and looking at a copy of her company policy. And I thought, well, let's just get this from the horse's mouth because the Family Medical Leave Act is straight from the U.S. Department of Labor. So I'm going to read it from their website. And it says that the Family Medical Leave Act entitles eligible employees of covered employers to take unpaid job protected leave for specified family and medical reasons. And then this is a fact sheet they have on it. So the important parts there, it's covered employees. So and covered employers. So the FMLA only applies to employers that meet certain criteria. It has to be a private sector employer with 50 or more employees in 20 or more work weeks in the current or preceding calendar year, including a joint employer or successor in interest to a covered employer. I don't know what the last part of that means. Basically, you have to have enough employees for it to
be a
matter.
big enough company.
Yeah, so if we were to decide we wanted to incorporate our little thing here that's just the two of us, we're not covered by the FMLA. Good news, because, well, we are all that it would be, so we're not firing each other for not showing up. Eligible employees is the other part of it. And an eligible employee is one who works for a covered employer. So obviously you have to work for somebody who is required to cover it. Someone who has worked for the employer for at least 12 months. So you have to have had a full year of employment there. And has at least 1,250 hours of service for the employer during the 12-month period immediately preceding the leave. So you have to have a certain number of hours and work at a location where the employer has at least 50 employees within 75 miles. I think that comes into play when you start dealing with some of the telecommuters, people who work from home, that sort of thing. Because if your employer is in Denver, but you're a work from home guy in St. Louis, that probably affects the way that's covered. So you need to talk to somebody who knows more than us about that.
I mean, you talk to your human resources at your place of employment.
Yeah. Your HR gal or guy, whoever it is going to know a whole lot. I know that's who I talk to. Our HR gal that we had used to work for us, she was, her and her husband actually adopted a little boy from Russia, I believe it was. And so she was well-versed in all this sort of stuff. She probably took full extent of the Medical Leave Act as well, too, because she knew it inside and out. That's something, though, that if you don't know about, you'll never use.
That is absolutely true. Because when we first started fostering, I was a stay-at-home mom. It didn't matter. We didn't need that.
Yeah.
And now that I work a full-time job and we're fostering again, that's kind of hard. You get a call in the middle of the night and they say, hey, can you take this baby? But you got to be at work in 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, and the important part is the leave entitlement, what it gives you. Eligible employees may take up to 12 work weeks of leave in a 12-month period for one or more of the following reasons. And the very first reason is the one that we're looking at here today. The birth of a son or daughter or placement of a son or daughter with the employee for adoption or foster care. So it clearly says on the Department of Labor website that you are eligible to use this for placement of a child from foster care in your home. And if you read through here too, it says you can take FMLA leave on an intermittent or reduced schedule basis. So you can take it in separate blocks of time and you can break it up. And that works really well for things like court dates.
Yeah. I mean, you can take a couple days for court. Sometimes there's medical reasons, lots of doctor's appointments. You get that placement in the first 24 hours, you have to see the doctor. You have to take them to be looked at.
And here in Missouri, that's the case. I don't know if that's the case everywhere.
That may not be the case in every state. But where we're required to, get a doctor's appointment right away to have that child evaluated. So you may take a week in the beginning when you first get a child to set up daycare, get your placement letter, because with my company, I have to have a placement letter in order to use my FMLA. That proves to them that I do have a foster child, and I'm getting things set up. But, I don't have to take, like you said, I don't have to take all those weeks at once. I take a week here, I may take a couple days here for court, for doctor's appointments, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, you get a kid who shows up and you find it has chronic ear problems and you have to take them in and have tubes done. That might require you to take a couple days off of work.
Absolutely.
Because most kids don't just go do the surgery and then feel awesome 5 minutes later.
No, I mean, it's not a major surgery. We've done it with several of our kids, but
Yeah.
you take a couple of days, and you snuggle and you love on the kiddo, and you let them know that you're here and you're going to take care of them when they're not up to 100%.
Yeah, and that gives you that opportunity to walk in and do that, and it protects you legally with your employer. And I think that's the real important piece.
I mean, that's the big thing, is that they have to hold your position. You don't lose your position, you don't lose your status, you don't lose, any of that. You still get to keep your schedule. They have to hold your place for you.
Yeah, I believe that, they I read in there, I believe somewhere, that you have to they have to hold your health care in place too for you. So that way you're not taking a chance on damaging your position at your company. Now, the company that I work for, I've worked for these guys for about 12 and a half years, and I've been pretty happy with this employer. And since I've been with them that long, and we are a smaller company than what Amanda works for, I don't really know that I would need to do that right away unless I had to take an extended period of time off. But if you work for a small enough employer who supports what you're doing, they're more likely to be able to just let you go, hey, I have this thing going on. I'm going to need a few days off. And they're not going to love it, but they understand it. And because I show up every day relatively on time and do what they ask me to and don't steal from them, that puts me in the top 10% of almost all employees. By the way, that puts you in the top 10% of almost all employees. Realize that. So know your value at your company. But my employer knows that I'm going to show up, I'm going to do a good job, and I'm going to do what they ask me to, and I'm not going to take anything from them. I'm not going to steal time from them. So when I have something like that come up, I don't necessarily have to run to the HR department and say, hey, I need to take FMLA. I just talk to my direct supervisor and say, hey, I need some time off. And that's a great way to handle it, because if something did happen and I did need to take that time, I still have that other time available if they'll give it to me.
Right.
And different employees have different handbooks and manuals and policies and procedures. And I would, if you're looking at doing foster care, I would suggest at least talking to your HR person and finding out what's available to you.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you should talk to them in advance so that they kind of know what's going on, so that they're more able to work with you. They know that this is what you're doing. They'll be more apt to work with you, especially if you've been with the company for a while and you have that status with your company.
Yeah. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not like a super duper special guy there, but I show up, I do the job, and I don't give them headaches, and they appreciate that. And in return, when I have something I need, they don't give me a lot of headaches.
Right. I wanted to come on here and talk about it, though, because, a lot of people don't know about this resource, and it's very, very valuable. It could really come in handy, because I had worried when we were going back into foster care, how are we going to handle this? How am I going to take care of this? If I get a baby in the middle of the night, I just can't show up at our daycare with this baby and be like, here you go. You I don't think Tanya would appreciate it. But it takes time. You have to get all your ducks in a row. And you got to get that set up. And, in the middle of the night, I'm just wondering, how am I going to deal with this with work? Am I going to lose so much of work and not have my job, or, have that put in jeopardy? But with this law, I don't have to worry about that, so that takes a lot of ease off my mind.
Technically speaking, I don't think this is a law. It's an act. Do you know what the difference is?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
I don't know. I don't have a clue. I know that it's legally binding. That's all I know. And there's probably a sheet in your workplace somewhere, a great big poster that hangs on the wall in a conspicuous place that has all this written on there in tiny little fine print.
I was going to say, I went to my employee's website and just printed out our FMLA clause.
Yeah.
And that's how I found it. It was in our forms, and I just printed it out and took a look, and I was like, this is really cool. And I had never heard about it, even, in our support groups that we've gone to and training, talking to the social workers, I had never heard about this. I did not know that this existed for foster parents. I thought it only existed for when someone has a baby.
Yeah.
Your maternity leave, and I thought that's what that applied to. So when I found this and I read it, I like almost jumped for joy.
Well, yeah, because the other side of that is that people don't know about it in large part, and I can show that because we were clueless, and we're like 10 years into doing this.
Yeah, I mean 10 years in, and we're just now hearing about this.
I mean, I'm sure somebody may have said something along the line somewhere to us, but never at a time when it's stuck in our head. So when that moment comes that you need it, it should be stuck in your head that, hey, guess what? There's a protection for you there.
Yeah.
And the protection is basically that you can't lose your job. They have to hold your position or a similar position, assuming you're not going to be out.
They can't see you counting off your fingers there.
Yeah, I'm counting, just so you know. I'm counting these fingers right here. But
those fingers?
I hope so.
All right.
But that you can't lose your job, number one. Number two, they can't take away your position unless your position is necessarily eliminated. They have to give you a equitable position, I think it was. I forget the exact wording. And the pay has to be, basically the same. They're not allowed to demote you, take away, your promotion, take away that sort of thing. You can't have it held against you. Because it's not that you're laying out of work trying to be lazy. You're trying to sleep off the brown bottle flu, if you will.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's never fun.
That's been a lot of years ago. Let's keep it that way.
Right.
But they just so long as they know that this is a legit thing. And for us in the state of Missouri, we get a placement letter that it's on the social services heading. The heading's on the sheet, and it has everything listed out. And that's enough for them to know that, hey, this is a real deal. These guys are doing something for kids through the state, and they're protected because of this.
Right, exactly. And I would like to think that, when we get our next placement, I will use some of that. I will probably take at least a week. You get a new child in, and you want to bond. You want to make sure that they're comfortable, and getting into the family and everything like that. It's hard for a child, and they need that. They need that stability, and they need someone to show them that, we're here and it's going to be okay. And so I think that first week is very crucial, just to bond and, chill and integrate into the family.
Well, when a kid's removed from care, that's always a pretty big trauma. So
it's a huge trauma.
To be there for them in that moment would be really,
and then to go to a new house with new people, that's another trauma. And then
they have to see this face. That's another trauma.
Well, that just causes a few nightmares. Mwah.
Yeah, lucky me.
Hey, I married you. I love you. It's all good.
Yeah. I question your judgment sometimes.
Yeah, don't we all?
But I think we pretty much said what we have to say about it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure that was something that kind of gets out there, that, hey, that's a protection you have. That's, it's built into the Federal Family Medical Leave Act for all of us. If you're going to be a foster parent, know that that's one of the tools in your arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, use it. Talk to your HR and see what your company offers. See what their stipulations are, and, use it. It's there. And you don't have to feel bad about, going to court, going to doctor's appointments, doing all the things that comes with having a child in your home.
Yeah.
So yeah, just talk to your human resources. They can tell you anything that you need to know. But yeah, it's there.
Yep. So I think it's time to turn this off. Unless you had something else to say.
No, I think I'm good.
Me too. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.